Drop top on a Wednesday.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Highly Doubted Podcast. I'm your host, KQ Dog, and this is episode 137. Man, I'm so happy to be here again to give you another week of content for your head tops. You feel me? Shout out to the Spotify listeners, the Apple Podcast listeners, the YouTube listeners. Shout out to everybody who taps in with me, listens to the podcast every week. Starting to sound like a broken record, but that's just how we got to do it at the beginning, the intro, if you will. Happy New Year to everyone. Last episode was more of a Christmassy last year episode. That was the cap off 2025. This is the first episode of 2026, even though it's 2 weeks. Well, you get what I'm saying. 2 weeks in, but first week of the podcast in 2026. A lot of stuff has happened since I have been on the airwaves last week. Googly moogly. Googly moogly. First things first, guys. We have the word of the day. Word of the week. Sorry. We have the word of the week. I said last episode I will start every episode with the word of the week. This is a new segment that we have that I have implemented. And the first word, and literally I just cracked open this book and just looked at the first word that came out. And this is the word. The word is called cabal. 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 It is to hatch a scheme or to plot. And a noun, it is a small group of plotters who hatch a scheme against the government or persons in authority. The word also refers to the scheme itself. So, yes, cabal. Take that to the bank, ladies and gentlemen. As far as my topics goes, there's a lot of caballing. There's a lot of caballing going on. People are caballing. And a lot of schemes and plots is happening. Referencing my topics about what's going on in the world today, y'all. It's been some time since it's happened, but it's new to me since I'm talking about it. And if y'all have not heard, feel like y'all already have. My podcast listeners are very knowledgeable group, so they don't have to wait on me to tell you what's going on. There's other platforms to tell you in much detail what's going on. So if you already know what's going on, then let me just tell you my version of what's going on. America doing a lot right now. America is doing a lot. Starting from the bombings that happened in Nigeria on Christmas Day to the invasion of Venezuela, taking the Venezuelan president, bragging about the operation, bragging about us killing Venezuelan officers or enforcement, on the Venezuelan cusp in terms of blocking their ways of oil, in the process of trying to take over Venezuela, threatening other countries who want the smoke, will give them the smoke. It's a whole lot. I wish you would. I wish you would. I wish someone would do it. I wish you would. That's what a whole bunch of this is. I wish you would. What you gonna do about it? Right? Obviously, the actual direct relationship between Nigeria and America. I mean, for most African countries, no one really likes America, but I do believe that there are a lot of relationships that these countries have with other nations that we really aren't allies with, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. Very proxy, if you will. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like none of it. I don't like any of it. None of it. There's a lot of things that are happening in our country that we need to pay attention to before we start worrying about what other people are doing in their countries. And then feel like we have the need to go and extend it to us as in our territory. I just think that that's not the right move, not the right move at all. It just it sends the wrong message from a world standpoint. And Trump is not helping himself by saying what he's saying and triggering people and just being Trump. It doesn't help at all. This isn't a political podcast, so I don't have I don't have a big take, a long takes on at least the Nigerian Venezuelan takes. I just It's not that I come here with a whole bunch of information to try to tell y'all what's going on and get y'all hip, but just know the reason to why we're doing it is for the quote unquote benefit of America. Certain things are not noticeable until it reaches a certain tax bracket. So, like, case in point, right? Venezuela being invaded by America and things being halted is stopping businesses, big multi-million dollar, maybe billion-dollar businesses. And the stock is definitely being affected by what's happening in the world. People who have large investments in the stock and has large investments in the money in terms of how the world goes are being affected immediately. They've been affected since this has happened. Middle class workers like myself, not really affecting us, not really doing anything to affect me per se, personally, directly, um, effectively. None of these moves have changed my way of life, but it will. Um, Maybe not in a negative way, maybe in another way. So it just looks different from different angles of how you're living in this country. But morally, humanitarianly, if that's a word, sorry, it's not right. I keep saying that. I don't like it. It's not right. So let's move on. Um, I think I'll get my takes from those. Minnesota, Minneapolis, excuse me. And that's the biggest thing that's been happening, and the biggest thing that people have been talking about in terms of up, uprise in our country and what that has created in the atmosphere in America. It's created a division, a divide, a huge sand in the line. It's already kind of been, if you are of the political sorts and you understand the right and the left, the blue and the red, there's already a line that's there. I don't have to say that to know that it's there, but it's showing itself more than ever now. It's showing itself more than ever now, and it's getting really scary. It's getting really scary to the point where we all have eyes and we all see the same thing, but we don't see the same thing. And I believe that people can have their opinions on what they see and what they saw, have that God given right. But that woman is dead. That man shot her in the face. That's murder. And I don't want to say it in a way where I'm not saying that she could have ran him over. She could have ran him over. But it's just off of the pretenses of how the video went, not trying to make a make my own version of the situation, but she didn't have to die. I think that's where I'm going to get to. She didn't have to die. There was no reason for her to die. There was no reason for you to shoot her. She didn't have a gun. There are just so many examples in America where we've seen two things. There's been examples in America where we've seen law enforcement, regardless of the level, where there have been people that they're hunting down with guns, gunning down actual officers. And we don't go out and we're not shooting booting everything. There's been times where the boy, if I'm talking honestly about the massacre in the church that happened a couple years ago with that white boy, and he gunned down everybody in the church, and the officers came and arrested him, and he had a live weapon on him. So I just hate when enforcement picks and choose what seems like a defense and what was fatal to their lives. I don't think that was fatal to your life. And even the way that it's being defended, it's very disgusting. It's very disgusting. It's very heinous to where I don't agree with either side of this because on one end, let's do it like this. I don't like the right or the red side of this because I don't believe that those measures had to be had to make sure that that person wasn't quote unquote ran over, if that's the story you're going to. I don't think that if you are truly trying to protect yourself and not have any type of injury or harm to you in terms of the car being the weapon, get out of the way of the car if that's the objective. Not to kill the person who is driving the car, because that's a whole different type of scenario to where, to me, you didn't have the true fear to protect yourself. That was what you wanted to do. You just needed a reason. That's how it looks from my end. The moment that the officer came into the side door and went into her car, tried to try. If the door was unlocked, he would have swung it open and snatched her out. But locked, and then he tried to put his hand inside of the car to unlock it, which whomever you're dealing with, that is a very alarming thing, especially if the person's masked up with guns. It's a natural instinctual thing to get out of the way because you, for all intents and purposes, from an outside in standpoint, they look like the aggressors because now you're surrounding a car and you have guns around the car, and that is a civilian with no guns in the car with a dog in the car. I think the actions were way too extreme, way too extreme. And it did not need to have there was no need for it to go that, that way at all. And the justification behind it is disgusting. Point blank period is disgusting. There is no reason. There is no reason. There is no reason. And I think that the fear of it is the retaliation from others who feel like they are in the fear for their lives, because what you have done is create a new message to where, as ICE officers, it's not just us trying to get people who are not in this country illegally, but we're willing to mow down American citizens to do it. And that creates a whole different message, a scarier message, a much more visceral message that the left or the blue side has been pointing to. And I don't want to lean into that because that makes my optics of this country look like a different country. And we are not that type of country, at least not anymore. But if we are coming to a space where enforcement officials in American soil are doing things and are killing American citizens, and that's not the objective, but that's a casualty from the objective. No, there needs to be immediate action to where these instances never happens again. And I think ICE officers or the people who represent or support the ICE need to come to a real accountable moment and say, even though there was a gray area to where you could say he needed to defend himself, not killing an American citizen. Domestic terrorism is what they're calling it. Those two words can be used for your point, but it also creates a narrative which makes things gray. Because if we are speaking on people who are not of this country, then we're speaking of immigrants, and that's what ICE is for. But if we're talking about domestic violence, then now we're talking about war on actual American citizens, depending on what they do and how they go about law enforcement. And that's where, what force are we using with them? And deadly, lethal force? It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. And I don't want it to escalate. It doesn't need to escalate any further. It is. It is. I've talked to a lot of people about this topic. I've done my due diligence on research of these topics from different people, nationwide, statewide, citywide. Um, even my mom who lives in Minneapolis and is literally in the climate as we speak. It's a very tense situation, and I think people need to take heed to this story and this situation because it could look different really quickly if certain things aren't put in check. And I think people who are giving credence and support to this how this transpired in terms of the ICE officer and how he moved, you need to be very careful about that stance because that could be you on the other side of that stance. And I think that's where it gets weird. You cannot say that we support this or we are down for this or this man was in his right to do what he did on an American citizen and we move forward. No, we can't do that. Then no, no, because I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I do want to say that that is not where we want to go in 2026. This is the start of a new quarter century. We're in the new quarter of our century. There we go. 2026, people like to say new year, new highlights of things, new things in time. This is a highlight in time because now we are into the second quarter of the century. And historically, if you have been paying attention, if you're a 90s baby or early 2000s baby, especially if you're early 2000s baby because you're old enough now, you're starting to see how the world is working, and you're starting to see that now at this point, especially if you lived, obviously if you've lived through all these things and you've experienced all these things in life and COVID and the wars and things like the invasion from 2000 to 2025, you realize that history repeats itself. And as we've experienced the last 20, 25 years, anything's possible. Technology has definitely shot through the roof. Things that we didn't think about could exist or we saw on television when we were kids, 90s babies, are naturally actually things in 2025. Smartphones, hoverboards, electric cars. Yeah. I mean, the list can go on. If we're really thinking about all the things that are possible in 2026, we are now in the age where you are a fool to think this can't be possible. And we could have another world war. It could be World War III. I mean, honestly, some people have said World War III has already happened. Or World War III. Yeah, World War III has already happened. It was not a guerrilla warfare war. It was a cyber war, right? Space war. World war could be described as all the countries fighting each other for a goal of domination. Maybe not physical, right? Because there has been territories that are off limits, not because they have their own military, but because they're allies of a superpower that has a military that supports them. So those type of advances don't happen in civilization anymore because we don't want the casualties. Casualties are just not what we want. Battlegrounds are not as open as they used to be, like back in the day, where we can find a space where we can do it, do the do. But um, that's just not what it is. Middle East and how we go about Iraq and Iran is the most of that, but we don't do those things or that way of warfare. So there has to be another way. And I think the other way has been cyber tech, and space. Could this show itself to be a reset button to where we're finally going to be on some real guerrilla warfare Vietnam shit where we got to go in Venezuela and go and do it from the boots to ground? I don't we don't need to do that because history has shown us when we go into other territories that we're not familiar with, the language, the landscape, God forbid, jungle, rainforest, we don't know how to fight. We don't know how to fight. Okay. We're not the best when it comes to rainforest, jungle warfare. We're really bad at guerrilla warfare. We ain't been good at guerrilla warfare since the American Revolution. And the only reason why we won that is because they were coming on our turf and we knew the area, right? So that's why we tend not to do well in those situations. So I just don't think, military wise, we should go in there with a big stick and say we're going to go in here and run everything because they know the area way better than we do, regardless of us having an overwhelming power. Um, I just don't want history to repeat itself in that way. That would suck for us and a lot of unnecessary human lives to be lost. Don't want that. I also don't want any more. I mean, I'm saying it like I don't want it. It's not going to happen anymore. But it gets weird when you start to look at yourself as an American citizen and you are knowledgeable of the history of your people with the country that you live in. And I've been having this thing with me for a good minute, like I'm gonna say a good couple months, especially when it comes to these political conversations and how the emotional factors of it kind of like, pull you. I get very internal with these things. And I think the best way that I could explain it, I was raised in a very pro black Afrocentric background. So what that means for people who don't know what that is I primarily think for the advancement and preservation of black people in America. Black people come first. My thoughts when it comes to the world, a situation that involves communities, I think of my people first and how that affects our people first before it affects the rest of the world. My neighbor, any other culture, community is second behind my people and what and how it affects us first. So I'm very pro black, very Afrocentric. So when these topics come and we'll get back with ICE and we get back with invading other countries and having war with other countries and how that affects my community and our community. And I know we are not a monolith, but I understand the history of my people with this country when it comes to invasions of other countries and it comes to civil unrest and people my people being targeted for good to no reason, right? And what that does to me as knowing the history and moving forward in this country today. So I don't feel that the wars potentially that are going to rise from this, as an American citizen who lives in this country, yes, because I am one of millions of Americans who live in this country. But as an African American who has been blessed with the road that has been paved by my ancestors to get to this point, war is not something that I feel they are pushing me to go towards. The helping of other cultures when they are in need in America, they get their support because their culture and their community, maybe not necessarily in America, but externally, they have the support. AKA, they don't need Black people to help them. Sometimes it's nice to have allies in certain movements and certain things where people are being discriminated, but they don't need Black people to assist, right? Especially if it's their problem. When it's our problem and we had our issues, yes, there were people that helped. Yes, there were allies. Yes, there were stories. But in terms of us as a community, ain't nobody help us. I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying of what was. ICE is over here chasing immigrants out of this country and deporting them back to the country that they are. Local law enforcement pulled over my people who are already citizens of this country for less. And depending on how they felt, they could kill him. They could lynch him. They could do both and then display it with no problem. We have cases of my people being infamously beaten and killed for no reason, especially when we are living in this day and age and we look at why and the mindset of why they were killed and beaten or assassinated, because we didn't fuck with Black people. And it was cool not to fuck with Black people. It was cool to do those things. It was cool. No, nothing wrong with it in terms of law enforcement or people's mindsets of supporting it. Nothing wrong with it. It's cool. Who gonna check us? And that was what Jim Crow was. Segregation was. Slavery was. I think if you're a Black person who understands your history, you know damn well what's going on in this country. And you know damn well what they're doing and how they're doing it. It's just they're not doing it to us right now. They're not doing it to us right now. We're not the priority. If anything, they've been beating on our ass for 400 plus years, still 500, to where there's no point to do it anymore because we're already in a situation where they don't need to put any more efforts towards us because it's already running it itself. But that's a whole different conversation. No one go there. But I want to get back to point. For my communities, this war shit, my communities, these people that they're taking illegally and quote unquote illegally and sending them back to their home country, but what can we do that can make a change that doesn't put us into a more difficult situation than we already currently are in as a people? That's just my question. You can answer it in the comment section and we can discuss. Okay. Okay. All right. I am over that. I am done with those heavy topics. Those were heavy topics. I wanted to get those out of the way because that was something that was on my heart. I think the people that I've talked to off the podcast about these conversations will probably say that I had a better take with those because, we were talking about them or, you know, we were having more of an in-depth conversation. So that's just where I'm at with those things. Generally, not trying to, have a whole different thing with it. But um, yeah. Also, pay attention to your surroundings, people. Pay attention to your surroundings. This is a new year where you want to start fresh and build new habits and you know, create a different page in the book that you've been living in. That starts with the people that you surround yourself with. That starts with the energy that you give, the energy that you get. Um, it starts with you. So, with that, just be more, ooh, my neck. Just be more aware of your surroundings. You know what I'm saying? Just be more intentional with your time. Be more effective with the quality of your efforts. But yeah, man, just stay safe out here, man. Stay safe out here. More love, more life. We're just now getting into January, and we got a long way to go. We got a long way to go. So let's not crash and burn at the start, right? This will relatively be a shorter podcast, yay, because I really don't have. I mean, I have stuff, but I don't. Since I already kind of was on the serious train, I could kind of stay semi, and then we can go straight to foolishness and sports. So when I do watch TV when I'm eating food, I like to, what do I want to watch? TV show, movie? I like to watch comedy specials. I like to laugh. So two things. I watched, my mom came over and we watched the new Dave Chappelle special, and it was amazing. Also saw the latest Cat Williams special on Netflix as well, and Cat Williams will be coming in April, so that'll be lit. Something about these two over the years that I have noticed from my brain, from my generation, from my experience. Mainly Dave Chappelle, less Cat Williams, but Cat Williams is still in this conversation. Why is it, to me, the two most comedic geniuses, people who are meant to make you laugh and give you funny content, are telling the most truth? Not saying that like there aren't people who are saying these things not in a comedic form or entertainment art form. It's just awareness and straight to it. I'm not saying those don't exist. They do exist, but I just find myself looking at certain pieces of art, and as art kind of imitates life, when it comes to comedians, because I have comedians who just talk about regular stuff or racial stuff. Even racial stuff is funny, but comics who speak on things that are happening in the world or speak on their perspective of what's happening in the world, and it's a joke, but it's not a lie, right? And I think that's where the comedy is starting to mature with me. They'll tell you a joke. They'll tell you some jokes. Boy, they'll tell you some jokes, but they will never tell you a lie. Um, Dave Chappelle was talking on his latest comedy special about Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia, and how it's easier to talk there, how it's easier to be a black man there. And in the jokes, there were trans jokes, there were other things, there was a whole there was a whole there was a it was a whole program, it was a whole master class, as some people say. But the thing that he kept saying, throughout the special was, man, it's a lot easier to talk in Saudi Arabia. And I think that part to me was really interesting, because it was a more of like, what you mean by that? What you mean by that? And I think the jokes were the jokes of, him talking about the special, but I think there is a true, clear understanding of what the black man, black woman, black people in America look like to the world. We as as the people who have never left this country, or let's just say never left this country just off of vacation and didn't really learn something or had a real networking conversation, we miss out on the perspective of on how the world sees us. And I think that perspective of the world would really help us as a people. Not saying We've always had this, we don't give a fuck who thinks about what we think about, we do. What is cool. We could do that here because we live here. But we can't do that over there or over there. And we know we can't do that over there and over there. So why do we feel like we have the audacity to feel like we don't care what people think when we are not in the position where we want to be, and the perspective of the world could really help us out? Knowledge is something that I aspire to have all the time. And if also you have that, get a passport, because a passport will help with that knowledge when you speak to your fellow men and women of the world and you have conversations and you hear what certain people say. Not saying you have to hold it to truth, but it's just a perspective you would have never gotten unless you left this country. So I just feel like, there's just certain things we have to break off. And I think the ignorance is bliss is one of them. Yeah, I think ignorance is bliss is one of them. And so Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams, those two men just have a special talent for just saying things that are very funny depending on how your comedic level is, but saying some real prophetic, truthful shit. I don't want to spoil the documentary. I mean, I don't want to spoil the special for people who want to see it. But Dave Chappelle knows how to tell a story, and Cat Williams knows how to draw you in and then feed you some quote unquote bullshit, like low vibration joke. But let it simmer. Let it simmer. Let it sit in. Let it sit in for a second, right? Um, he has one of those. It's an acquired taste for both men, but I like both. I like both. So yeah, man. Off of that, we can get to playoff football. You already know how I feel about my team. We're not speaking on it. I don't have a team right now. I'm broken up. I'm just a football fan out here, just watching some playoff football. And so shout out to the Rams, shout out to the Bears, shout out to the Bills, shout out to the 49ers, the Patriots, and the Texans, man. They are still going forward to the playoffs. That was a crazy wild card week, man. Shout out to the Panthers, bro. Great game, man. Great game. Great game. Saw that. It was a great game. Hey man, you never know. But man, all these games was really good, man. 49ers Eagles game was really the biggest one that everybody was paying attention to. And George Kittle had a real serious injury, so he's probably not going to play for the rest of the 40 for the playoffs. So let's see if they can still get it done. But if you ask me, guys, this is Josh Allen time. This is the Bills. The Bills are the ones. The Bills are the favorite. I see the Bills winning this. I mean, aside from the Rams, it's the Bills. But we got the Bills and the Broncos, 49ers, Seahawks, Texans, Patriots, Rams, and the Bears. So if you're asking me, guys, I'm looking Bills, Seahawks. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I think the Texans might upset the Patriots. I'm gonna say Texans, and I'm gonna say Bears. Yep. I mean, sorry, Rams. Sorry, Rams. Texans, Rams. Uh, Bills, Seahawks, Texans, Rams. That's who I got for the playoffs. That's who I got for the NFL. Bro, the college football season. Hey man, I guess I need to brush up on my college football because I guess I'm an old head in the respect of thinking that I thought that the big Kahuna Oregon was gonna come through, but I guess not. Alabama beat Oklahoma. Oregon beat. Oh yeah, these are old games. No, the games that really mattered, yo. Indiana smacked Oregon, bro. Jeez Louise. And it was a close game with Miami and Ole Miss. That was a great game. If I had put my money on it, I would definitely say Indiana really showed out against Oregon, bro. Shout out. I'm sorry, Daryl. They was not expecting that. Like truly. And I thought Oregon was gonna be better. Hey man, I'll live and die on the U, man. Miami, Miami. I got my money on Miami, bro. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. It'll be next week, so that will be an interesting turn of events. Oh, so yeah, man, that will be my playoff predictions. That's where I'm at with it. That's where I'll die on the sword of the playoffs. Last but not least, I don't know why I made this the last segment, but during Christmas, Whitley bought turntables. She bought me some turntables. It's crazy. I haven't talked about it like earlier since, but mm, she got me some turntables, and I've been messing with them, been rocking with them, been really doing some damage with them. I've really learned really quick what I like to do, like my style. I like Afro beats. I like electronic dance. I like the boil room type vibe. I am that guy. Hip hop is cool. You know I love hip hop and rap and R&B, and I can do the R&B too. It's a little different. It's a little bit slower, but I like the up tempo reggaeton, not reggaeton. Well, reggaeton if I got it in there. Um, Dance, electric, Afro beats. Like that's me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's and I'm trying to find a mixture in that. So yeah, man, DJ KQ out here doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? Trying to turn up on the board. Shout out to the DJs in Charlotte, yo. Hold on, I gotta give my love and respects and shout outs, man. Oh, I just seen her on my time. I just seen her. Just seen her. Just seen her. DJ Michi. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to her. She has definitely been doing her thing since like I remember seeing her on Instagram like earlier this past last year, earlier this last year. She was starting, continue, growing. Book shows, flyers, book shows, flyers, book shows, flyers, winning competitions. I'm like, damn. And, also have other DJs, DJ Black Woman, you know what I'm saying? Let's not get it twisted, knowing where I came from in the Oakland space. DJ Black Woman definitely still doing her thing, turning up in Oakland, doing her thing. Shout out to my man Profeta, you know what I'm saying? He's also DJing in Oakland and around the world. So, you know what I'm saying? I've definitely been around a fair share of DJs. DJ B Mills, you know what I'm saying? When I'll be seeing him in Charlotte. So I definitely been seeing some of the DJs do their thing, and it's cool, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm bowing down to y'all because y'all obviously have been doing this, are well into it. I'm just chilling, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna see what it do. I'm gonna see what DJ KQ do. This gonna do. See, I don't know if I would be DJ KQ or DJ KQ do. Maybe DJ KQ do. I don't know. Okay, but the point is, I got these turntables. I'm definitely going to. I have some time this week. It's a lot of free time. I'm trying to heal up, not trying to do too much. So, you know, I'm also making these little theme sets. All right. I know how I am with cameras and visuals and shit, so don't ask. But behind the scenes, I really am, just trying to work on other things and see what other things I'm interested in. And I like the turntables. I mean, if the history of it is my father was a DJ, very good one from what I heard. And hey, some things stay the same, some things never change. Uh, so we'll see. So I'm gonna end it on that. Yeah, man, it was a very light episode. Hopefully this was good enough to give y'all a good week of content. But yeah, man, I probably not gonna touch those topics anymore. They'll exist. They'll continue to exist. Who am I kidding? I'm gonna keep talking about them. Especially if I have more people who are here to talk. So, hint, hint. So yeah, man, we'll definitely have more topics, more things to give you, more informational, controversial things to talk about, and yeah, man, we'll be back. We'll be back. I'll be back. I keep saying we, but I'm saying we because I'm already prophesizing the crew already here. So I just keep saying we so y'all know in spirit they here. You feel me? So yeah, man, we'll be back next week because I said it for another episode, man. This is the Highly Doubted Podcast. I'm your host, KQ Dog, and we out. Bye.
Claiming they own and they off as a bitch. Sipping that liquor and bagging these chicks. Movies is coming straight Hollywood flicks, my nigga. KQ Dog. Yo, these niggas is clones. Step out the country, y'all feeling alone. Everything